Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I hope you've had an excellent week. So this is going to be our final online Toddler Tales until September, in which September you get to come back in person. So that's going to be fun. So today we're going to do another fairy tale, and it's going to be Red Riding Hood. Now you'll notice that this art style is very similar to some of the other ones that we've had. That's because this retelling, you remember that retelling means that it's a story that's been told so many years. It may or may not have had an original teller, but everyone can tell it and put their own spin on it. So the reteller of this story is James Marshall, who has done two of our other stories. He did the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Do you remember that one? But this is what we're going to read today. So it is Red Riding Hood. A long time ago, in a simple cottage beside the deep, dark woods, there lived a pretty child called Red Riding Hood. She was kind and considerate, and everyone loved her. That doesn't sound like the Red Riding Hood I know. One afternoon, Red Riding Hood's mother called to her. "Granny isn't feeling up to snuff today," she said, "so I baked her favorite custard as a little surprise. Be a good girl and take it to her, will you?" Red Riding Hood was delighted. She loved going to Granny's, even though it meant crossing the deep, dark woods. Oh, she's been very helpful, isn't she? When the custard had cooled, Red Riding Hood's mother wrapped it up and put it in a basket. "Now, whatever you do," she said, "go straight to Granny's. Do not tarry. Do not speak to any strangers." "Yes, Mama," said Red Riding Hood. I wonder what that word tarry means. If she's saying go straight there, maybe she mean don't dilly-dally, so don't, oh, look at the flowers, or oh, I want to go watch that bird, and go whooshy, whoosh, whoosh, off track. I think that's probably what she meant. Don't get off track. Before long, she was in the deepest part of the woods. "Oh," she said, "this is scary." You see her face? She's like, uh-oh, what am I doing in here? Suddenly, a large wolf appeared. "Good afternoon, my dear," he said. "Care to stop for a little chat?" "Oh, gracious me," said Red Riding Hood. "Mama said not to speak to strangers." And you can tell she's a little panicked. But the wolf had such charming manners. "And where are you going, sweet thing?" he said. "I'm on my way to visit Granny, who lives in the pretty yellow house on the other side of the woods," said Red Riding Hood. "She's feeling poorly, and I'm taking her a surprise." "You don't say," said the wolf. Just then he had a delightful idea. "No reason why I can't eat them both," he thought. "Allow me to escort you," he said. "You never know what might be lurking about." "You're too kind," said Red Riding Hood. Looks like he has nefarious plans, meaning not so great. Beyond the forest, they came to a patch of sunflowers. "Why not pick a few?" suggested the wolf. "Grannies love flowers, you know." But while Red Riding Hood was picking a pretty bouquet, the clever wolf hurried on ahead to Granny's house. "Who is it?" called out Granny. "It is I, your delicious, darling granddaughter," said the wolf in a high voice. "The door is unlocked," said Granny. Aw, poor Granny, she's in bed with her feet up, and this wolf is just gonna eat her. "Surprise!" cried the wolf. Granny was furious at having her reading interrupted. "Get out of here, you horrid thing!" she cried. Do you think that's going to make a difference? The wolf gobbled her right up. He didn't even bother to chew. "Tasty," he said, patting his belly. "So tasty." Just then he heard footsteps on the garden path. "Here comes dessert." And losing no time, he put on Granny's cap and glasses, jumped into bed, and pulled up the covers. "Who is it?" he called out in his sweetest granny voice. "It is I, your little granddaughter," said Red Riding Hood. "The door is unlocked," said the wolf. Red Riding Hood was distressed at seeing her grandmother so changed. "Why, Granny," she said, "what big eyes you have!" "The better to see you, my dear," said the wolf. "And what long arms you have!" "The better to hug you, my dear," said the wolf. "And Granny, what big teeth you have!" "The better to eat you, my dear," cried the wolf. Uh-oh, I think she might be in trouble. And he gobbled her right up. "I'm so wicked," he said, "so wicked." But really he was enormously pleased with himself, and having enjoyed such a heavy meal, he was soon snoring away. A hunter passing by was alarmed by the frightful racket. "That doesn't sound like Granny," he said. And so the brave hunter jumped in the window, killed the sleeping wolf, and cut him open. Out jumped Granny and Red Riding Hood. "We're ever so grateful," said Red Riding Hood. "That wicked wolf won't trouble you again," said the hunter. "It was so dark in there I couldn't read a word," said Granny. Red Riding Hood promised never, ever to speak to another stranger, charming manners or not. So he rescued them. And she never did. Look at that. It's a crocodile. Alrighty, so that was a retelling of Red Riding Hood. I hope you guys like that one. We are getting ready to move on to our craft. So the last bag that you would have received is this. And it's got 2 of these little Bretts or Brads or whatever they're called. So those are the things that we're going to need, along with a pencil and scissors. So make sure you gather all of those things and come meet me back here. So the first thing you're going to do is cut out this, because this is going to help us with this. So now we're going to take this, which we've cut out, place it on the red paper, take your pencil, and I would say make sure you do it towards one end of the red paper because we're going to need this top part for a different thing. So place it towards the end, and now you're going to trace with your pencil. So now we're going to cut out the red one. But I want you to notice, do you see how on this one, some of the insides have a dotted line? Let me see if I can't get that there. And those are actually going to be folded and not cut. And the good thing is, whenever we get to here, you can see exactly where those lines should be. So you don't necessarily have to follow that too much, but you'll be able to see it. So go ahead and cut this out. Should be the same shape that you cut out before, just on your red paper. And we can hide all our pencil marks by putting all of this in the inside. So now, just like these have these little things, we are going to have to cut that on here. So what we're actually going to do is fold it so that it is mostly straight. So just like this. And we're going to do that to each of these pieces so that they line up and are folded. So there's that one. And then there's that one. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to undo this. I'm going to come over here and do this side. So let's fold that one in. Let's fold the triangle in. And the other square. Wow, that's pretty cool. So it looks like we have 2 triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, and 1 big rectangle in the inside. Now what you're going to do from here is you're going to cut these into 4 pieces. 4 as even as you could get them pieces. And you're going to go just right up to that line that you folded. Just like that. Now it doesn't need to come off or anything like that. It's just going to be 4, I suppose we would call it fringe almost. One way to do that whenever you don't have lines is you actually cut it in half. And then you cut both of those pieces in half. So you can have fairly even little corners. So approximately even. Doo-doo-doo. Like that one I didn't get very even. But that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. Now I don't think I've told you guys what we're making. We're making a basket. So, in order to make a basket, we've got to layer this. So I'll show you guys how. I'm going to go with each little piece and put it over top of this triangle. Each one comes over. This one comes over. This one comes over. And this one comes over. Until you get to the end. And you see? It's going to make like a little basket shape. Now, how am I supposed to hold that together? Well, that's where this comes in. This little gold piece is going to go through these. So, we're probably actually going to also need a hole punch if you have one. If not, you can ask a grown-up to get some scissors or something sharp to help you put this through here. Okay? So I'm going to use a hole punch. If you have something else that you can use, then you should totally feel free to use that. And you might have to do this in smaller layers than what we originally had. But, so that's going to be very important to have a grown-up helping you. So I actually made a hole punch right where I wanted it. And now I could go through and just go whoosh. Don't forget our triangle has to have a hole punch too. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work. So let's relayer those so they're right there on the hole. And oops, I don't want to lose anything. There we go. Look, now my brad fits through. I'm going to fan out the inside, and I'm going to let that hold. So now I have a basket over here, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to hole punch probably towards the end of the papers. There we go. Let's get these guys. And last but not least, our triangle needs a hole. Alrighty, so now we're going to build this one again. Oops. And it's every other one. So I start on this side, I go to this side. I go to the opposite side, and I go to the opposite side of that. And then I go to the opposite side again, and an opposite side, an opposite side, an opposite side. And now I'm going to take my second little brad and go through. I should come out the other side, and then I can fan that out, and it should hold my basket together. Now you're like, well, how do I hold this basket? Because there's nothing for me to hold it with. This is an awkward thing to do. Do you remember me saying we needed some of this? So what we're actually going to do is we are going to make handles. So I'm going to cut that piece off real quick. And you are going to fold this so that you can have a handle. I've got a little bit of overlap, so I'm actually going to take that part off. And then I have this part which I folded, and I'm going to make that 2 pieces. So just cut on that folded line that you made. Woo. And you can either glue, tape, or staple this part together. Before you glue or tape it though, I'd measure it out a little bit. So like, if your handle's going to be here and your other handle's going to be here, is this going to be too long for you? If it is, you can shorten it. If you just want to use one, you can. So I think I'm going to use one. I'm going to hole punch at the ends. And the brad that you just used, you can kind of push those back together because they're really flexible. Now don't let it slide off the end, but then you just put this one over top of it. And you fan it back out. So now it's holding the basket handle. And you're going to do the same to the other side, so you're going to bring these back together. So you can see I put them back together. I'm going to put this where it was hole punched over top of that. Place that, fan it back out. And now I have a basket with a handle. You can be just like Little Red Riding Hood with your little basket. And these are cool. You could put little treasures in here if you have like crystals or rocks that you like to collect. Or you could put flowers or maybe some candy if you want to put it somewhere to share. That would be really cool, right? All right. Well, I hope you guys had fun making a basket with me and reading Little Red Riding Hood. I will see you guys back here in September. Be sure to tell me everything that's going on whenever you get here because I haven't seen you guys in a while. So, all right. See you next time. Bye.